Okay, in this video I'm gonna show you all of this interface in the VAB, which is practically the same which is in where you build planes, but the VAB is where you build rockets, and for now we're gonna make rockets. So let's start. If we will launch the simplest rocket in the world. Now what does the simplest rocket in the world need? Parts. These are the parts. I can search pod, but I don't need it. These are all the parts, and they are in categories. Pods, all these commands. I'm gonna put. Then there's fuel tanks. Then there's engines, command and control. Well, for command, they mean that you can command what your rocket does. In other words, if it's spinning or not. Structural, for the structure. Robotics, this is only for the breaking ground. Then there's coupling, for the couplers and other similar things. Then we've got payload, which are firings and other things to carry payload. Then we've got aerodynamics, which is only for planes. Then we have wheels and landing legs. Then we have thermal. So, for example, there are two. You could separate them into things that put the heat out and don't leave it in your rocket. Yeah, the heat shields when you return the atmosphere so that your rocket doesn't explode. Then electrical, things that generate electricity and that store it. Communication for communication. Science for making science in science mode. Cargo is only for breaking ground. It's, for example, for these things that you can put on the ground. Then utility, things that are kind of useful. For example, launch escape system. We are gonna use this. So we start by a pod, we click on it and it appears there. Okay, now so we will start by the pieces. Then I'll click here and I'll put this engine. It doesn't plop there. That's because this time it follows the mouse. The second and all the others, except the first, follow the mouse. Although if you click on it, the first part will do it. And there's the second part. If you right click, you can, for example, how much fuel is this engine? You can change it, but that's not for this video. Now, we wanted our launch escape system. Now this takes us to the other part. You see, this launch escape system has this part, so that when you launch the launch escape system, you don't go straight, because if not, you could go straight back down into exploding rocket and explode. But I don't want to go there. And this introduces Gizmos, which are these. We've got, if we click this and we click something like this, we can rotate it however we want. You could even rotate it like this, although that's not a good idea. But, well, I'll try that. Then we've got how to move, and I can move it. For example, I can put it like this. This is getting ridiculous. Then the root, which is the most important part for us. Obviously, it's this, right? Where we have cables. But for a reason I don't understand, you can see that this is your favorite part. But your most important part. Now, as you can see, wait. Click on this, and now as you can see, this is something more. Oops. And this is the main part. Now, unfortunately, by touching it, I moved it, and well, I have to use the gizmos again. That's the gizmos. Then we have actions. For example, we can do when I put abort, I will activate this engine. Then we need controls. We need Kerbal's crew. I will choose this one. And then I can switch his costumes by clicking this thing. Okay, well, here you can open rockets that others have made. For example, I will not show it here because not to ruin mine, but I will show it after. And we have save, but we have to put a name on it. Then I won't click it because if not, this will disappear. Now we can launch it like this, but you can launch it from different parts of Kerbin. Kerbin is kind of Earth in the Kerbal system. So we activate SAS by pressing T, and we press space to launch our thing. Now it's going well. As you can see, this engine is shooting out exhaust fast enough to propel to make our rocket go upwards. Now as you can see, this is making some drag. This is going fast. If I click F12, I can see the drag. Now let's click here. I'm gonna go here, click here to make it go 4 times faster. Or I could click here to make it go 3 times faster, or here to go 2 times faster, or here 1 times faster. Well, actual speed. Now, if we press M, we will show the map. Now, this is the Kerbal system, so of all planets, but that's not what is needed for this video. Now, as you can see, this is the orbit. Actually, it's not orbiting, it's the trajectory of this rocket. This apoapsis is the highest point of the orbit, which is 65 kilometers. Now we are returning, and now we forgot to use our parachute, and now I will use the abort system. So I'll go here and abort action group, and we slow down. Now I don't want to kill this Kerbal, so I'll press go either, and this will make an extra vehicle activity. In this case, saving the Kerbal. Then I'll put the shoot. Now, if we press S, we can revert to vehicle assembly, because that's what I'm gonna mainly focus on today. Now, we could launch this in another place, but I want to show you one of these rockets. It could be any rocket. Now this is useful if you want to learn, well, how you should do your rocket, because these are good rockets. Now I don't want to launch it normally because I'm bored of that. But if I go here close, well then we can launch it from the launch pad or from, I don't know how to read that, launch site, or this other, which I don't know how to read. Now I will launch it here. Now I forgot to say in the last one, to activate stages you have to press space. So here we do the same. I won't do precisely what this rocket was meant to do, but I will do something similar. The X and Z are for the throttle. It's important if you're using liquid fuel, but solid fuel doesn't care. So Z is for max throttle, X is for zero throttle, and then shift will make it rise up, control will make it go down. So you can choose how much thrust your rocket has. I always put Z. So let's activate the engines. They couple these I forgot how they're called. Now this should be able to go to the moon, but well, I don't have enough time. That's too complex. So I don't want to make it explode. So there's no parachutes. So I'll make it land with its engines, and I haven't succeeded. Well, I have kind of succeeded. Well, for the most part, it exploded, but the payload seems to be fine. But this is the payload, the satellite, but that wasn't a perfect landing with engines. I'm not an expert on that. But our payload is saved. This is the VAB, and I have explained everything except if you press here leave, you will leave it. Now this is precisely the same, except that here you do planes, and the things that you put are in vertical but horizontal. Now, because this isn't a video about doing planes, to show you one, I will choose one already made by others. And we can launch it wherever we want. I'll do Iceland airfield, and that island isn't a launch pad, so this is kind of an exception. Now, this isn't a good idea doing what am doing because, okay, I was able. Now, I will put here, I'll activate navigation. I will turn my plane. Now this is just to show you. So this is one of the places where you can launch your rockets. Now, this is a pretty efficient plane, because it's an efficient plane, and even because it's a plane, which are more efficient than rockets. Plane engines are more efficient than rocket engines, so in atmosphere they are better, but in space they don't work. Now I'll warp it because, well, this isn't a tutorial how to use planes, but just this a way to demonstrate the way you build planes is practically the same as the way you build rockets. Now, here is the normal runway, which is where you normally launch your planes. Now, it's a glider. No, I'm not an expert in landing planes where I want, so I won't land it there because, well, it's too difficult for me. One thing which I want to tell, which is the last thing to tell, pressing G will activate and deactivate the gear action group. Then there's light, which will make lights, and there are brakes for braking. For example, when you land a plane.